debates and decisions that are shaping our continent now in Europeans.
As Poland now comes to terms with its communist past, a debate hits the local architecture. Should Warsaw get rid of buildings from those times? A gift from Soviet Russia, the Palace of Culture and Science was supposed to embody social progress. Now this landmark separates Warsavians into two groups, those who want its demolition and others that admire it.
Especially older people want to destroy it because they remember wrong things, and I know that they were unhappy in this time, but for young people it's like a historical symbol, and I think we need to preserve this.
This controversy is not only an issue of historical memory. The palace in recent years has been surrounded by new glass and steel constructions. The best example of this urban explosion is Zolta Tarasai, a hectare-large complex with a folding glass roof, which achieved the title of most innovative commercial project in the world.
The project was very complicated because it was first of the kind, not even in Poland, but even in Europe. That was one of the first projects in Poland done together with the city, or with the cooperation with the city. It was also quite new in terms of architectural concept, so it created a lot of technical problems to solve.
The real estate sector in Poland has become an Eastern El Dorado for investors. From 2002, inflows of capital have increased exponentially. Access to mortgages and cheap interest rates have fueled strong demand for residential property. The current housing boom can be seen at this development in the district of Wilanów. Lacking basic infrastructure, Polish and foreign developers are creating a complete new town, which will be home to 20,000 people. But who can afford to live in this new, expensive Warsaw of modern flats and spaces?
Generally, it is middle class.
Middle class.
People between 30 and 40 years old, they take as long mortgage as possible, usually. But we have many buyers that are around 50 or 60 and they want to retire in this particular area because they have a nice places for walk. Also, what will be here is a town center. A real town center with streets, shops, boutiques, restaurants, cinema.
With increasing demand, developers are now dictating conditions on the Polish housing market. Many apartments are bought before a construction permit is granted, and it's developers who decide how much is charged. Foreigners are now gambling on Poland, paying Poles as much as they want for their plots.
Markets such as the UK, Ireland or Spain are too crowded and mature to provide investors with yields they are used to. These property investors have grown very confident at home, so are no longer afraid to invest in overseas markets, which can now also offer security for their investment.
If this housing boom is sustainable, what are the long-term prospects?
Poland is a huge real estate market with demand in housing so big that any developer can make money in years to come. The real demand for housing is very important due to two factors. On the one hand, this country comes out of a communist past where poor housing was built with rather uncomfortable flats for the current inhabitants. Many families live together in a single apartment, so there's a need to buy flats. On the other hand, families are disintegrating, with young people becoming more independent, therefore wanting to live on their own. This further pushes up the real housing demand.
Backing this trust in the housing market are a string of promising indicators. Unemployment, still one of highest in Europe, is decreasing, whilst GDP growth remains solid above 5%. To provide opportunities on the real estate market, Warsaw in early June will host the Central Europe Property and Investment Fair. And at the event will be consulting firm RedNet, who specialises in meeting supply and demand.
We have a huge GDP growth, huge salary growth. People are getting more rich and they would like to live in something better. And actually there is a very low supply and a huge demand for all these constructions. So we we observed a huge price growth caused also by the investors which came after Poland joined the European Union to Poland.
Old Warsaw was meticulously reconstructed after the city was devastated during the Second World War. Now the key word is infrastructure. The mayor of Warsaw is aware of the challenges ahead.
The infrastructure is lagging behind, so it's the reason why I accelerated the public transport development, because it's very important. If you would like to settle down, you need to have a good public transport. So it's my first task. And the second, of course, is we have to speed up the planning of the space. We would like to finish the first line of underground. We would like to start the second line of underground connection, and we plan to build 2 bridges, because the other side of Warsaw is also very attractive, but the transport is not so good as we could have.
In Krakow, Jerzy Nazarkiewicz is a bus driver married with 1 daughter. The flat they rent was built during communist times. It's too small for their needs, so they would like to move. But the problem is that they cannot afford to. Almost 50, and despite the stable jobs both he and his wife Malgorza hold, they are unable to get a mortgage. As housing prices rise, wages for most Poles remain low compared with Western Europe, making much of the housing stock unaffordable. It's the 30-something upper middle classes that can buy, but they're still playing a game where they don't make the rules. Speculation is the other side of the Polish real estate market, and Deputy Mayor of Krakow, Kazimierz Bojakowski, denounces the practice that feeds these rampant increases in property prices.
Speculation is there. Some developers from Spain, Ireland and the UK resell some of their properties to bump up the prices. Then they channel the excess capital out of Poland and reinvest in the new member states.
Krakow is modernising at a rapid rate, becoming a blueprint for Eastern Europe on how a town can reconstruct its past, opening to students, tourists and investors. And despite speculation and insufficient infrastructure, for many Poles the country has never before received such an uplift in its architectural aspects.